Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Warrior Season 2, Episode 4. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's start off with the more labor side of things. So obviously, it's all connected. Sophie is spending a lot more time with Leary, which it's not until like after they hooked up again and she was staring out at him, when he was like, helping out the community, because it's like, right, he is this person that's blowing up factories. He is kind of like, hey, he's a little rough and tumble, but it's still that thing of, oh, I see the good person in him. And it didn't even click in my head this episode, until this episode, but it's like, I made the parallel I brought up the point last episode that, oh, she's kind of tiptoeing towards like, oh, looking for the bad boy and kind of, there's going to be consequences for like tiptoeing in like kind of the dark side of things. But then I also had to remind myself this episode, I was like, well, there's a direct parallel between Sophie and Penny in that regard, because Penny got close to Assam because much like Sophie sees the good in Leary, she saw the good in Assam and continues to see the good in Assam. So it's like, right, both sisters are kind of in love with someone that's on the, who are coming to a head in like a bit of a war, which kind of almost granted, Sophie doesn't know about the Assam of it all, but their beef kind of almost bleeds over into Sophie and Penny's beef, which is just kind of really interesting. Because she even bothered bringing her date there. You can tell the point was like, hey, I want to scare you off. Because it's like, hey, prove to me that you are... truth be told, it's like no one's going to like stand... Like, you are infatuated with Leary. Like I said, maybe it's just kind of like you've lived the life you've lived, and now you get to kind of take a step on the dark side. Like I said, he's so unlike anyone else you've ever really met. You got to see him. Once again, her introduction to him was in the more lighter side of things, because she got to see that more somber side of him when he's like at the graveyard, where his wife and children are buried. So she initially got introduced to him in a certain light. So she saw the more positive side of him first and foremost before she saw any other side. So, but I think she just brought her date there just to kind of scare him off. Just kind of like, yeah, because like I said, she likes the thrill and the fun of it all. So. And it also seems like as they're getting closer, it does seem like Assam and Penny are getting closer again too, because it's like, oh, how have you been? He's like, no, I'm good. And she's like, is this what you're going to do forever? And he's like, no, I've got plans. I'm building something. And I guess that's more in conjunction with what Atoy is trying to build. Granted, he's also got a secret war with his sister that he's brewing, but yeah, which obviously everything he's doing is in contribution to what he's planning with Atoy, but also at the same time, his own selfish desire just to make his sister suffer. Which is like, yeah, that's an even deeper parallel between Penny and everything, because like Penny kind of blew up at her sister this episode, and it's like, well, Assam's got his beef with my Ling, so. But they talked about from Penny's perspective, it's like, right, Assam's still the same guy she's known, but for him, it's like, you've changed, but at the same time, you're still you, and so it's like, right, there's something bubbling there again. There's also that situation. I love that the showdown between Leary and Assam. It wasn't even a showdown; it was just a face-to-face. Because previously, earlier in the episode, Sophie had asked, like, right, why haven't you gone after my sister's factory again? And it's like, well, his last attempt wasn't too successful. Granted, he wasn't going as hard as he is this time blowing up the factories. He was just there to prove a point in the season 1 finale, but this time the circumstances are different, but he also doesn't want to lose any men in the process, because he knows he's like, right, she's got tongs protecting her, so it's like, it's not going to be like easy. I don't know if he knew for sure that Assam was there. He already knew Assam was associated with the place, but he didn't know like, oh, you're working security now and stuff until he showed up. But it's like, right, I'm going to get to that factory at some point, but there's other places I can strike strategically that won't cost me men in the process. But him and Assam, it's like, have their face to face, and he's like, right, you don't belong in this country. No matter what you do, you'll never belong. It's like, right, you're here taking our jobs. You're not even Americans, which Assam is like, you might have to ask yourself, you're blaming us. We don't want your fucking jobs. If you're so mad, ask the people who hire us, who choose to hire us over you, that it's like, maybe it's you they don't want. It's kind of how Assam threw it back in his face. And I think that's the interesting thing. Like, and I'm not well versed in history, so I could be mistaken, but I was like, weren't Irish treated the exact same way when they first came to this country? It's like, you're like, this once again, this country is built off of so many other people coming here. Like, everyone has their reasons for coming here. Once again, Leary's perspective on it is that the Chinese are coming here, like, even though they have, like, everything at home. Like, there's nothing going wrong in home for you to really come all the way here. I'm sure for him, it's like the Irish have their reason for leaving Ireland behind. And once again, black people didn't have much of a choice. They came here in chains. So he's a little more okay on that. But I'm like, I could have sworn the Irish weren't, like, yeah, if I remember correctly, Irish were treated just as, not as badly as the Chinese, but were despised like the Chinese. So it's like 3 different groups: Irish people, black people, and Chinese people. All, like, that's the thing of, we all have similar situations. We have a lot more in common than our differences. But it's like, yeah, like, the Chinese labor situation is cutting into the livelihood of Irish. I get that. But also at the same time, there's a lot of people who come here for the purposes of being able to help the people back home. Like, what was Assam's buddy's name? Was it Poe? Like, him and everything. So there are people who are working so hard for their family. And it's like, it's not like they've got the, like, yeah, they might be scrounging by and like, oh, they're cutting in your jobs. But it's like, yeah, they're just as human as you. But it's like, everyone's so caught up in their own situations. Once again, we're so focused on our differences rather than our similarities, because there's a lot more in common between the Irish and the Chinese in that regard. But Leary's not willing to see that, because I think of all he's been through, all that he's lost, all he can see is rage. And it is that tribalism of, I'm going to look after my people, you're going to look after yours. So it's like, one of these, at some point, you and me are going to settle things. It's like, right, I'll be the dude in the fancy fucking suit. I was like, hell yeah, dude. So that showdown didn't happen today, but it will eventually. But like I said, I think it's so interesting how this ultimately ended up bleeding over into the whole Sophie and Penelope, because the mayor ends up, because of everything that went down with Bill, which we'll get to his section of things later, but because of that, and because of Buckley forcing his hand, it's like, yeah, I told the senator about I figured I should let him know. And so that he, I don't want him finding out later and knowing that we knew and didn't say anything to him. It's like, shut up, Buckley. You're up here trying to cover, but we all know you did that on purpose. It's like, you're doing that to force the mayor's hand to kind of fall in line with what you want him to do. Because once again, he's trying to keep that neutrality, because he's trying to keep the Irish vote on his side, and everyone that's kind of in San Francisco of like, yeah, let's keep this American. And then he's also trying to keep the industrialists on his side who are hiring the cheap Chinese labor. So it's like, he's trying to play both sides of it, but Buckley forces his hand. So he has to double down and choose on the more America side of things. Which causes issues, because it's like, right, the senator's going to like push for him with the re-election, and that's kind of whole Buckley's point, like, of, if you don't do this, then the senator's going to back someone else. Well, Penelope goes, well, because you turn against the industrialists, they are actually going to be backing someone else, which for him, it's like, oh, you're here, they sent you to talk to me, they sent my wife to kind of put me in check. She's like, no one sent me, I'm a businesswoman being affected by your decisions, and so I'm here trying to warn you that basically the others are going to be coming for your head. And like, basically, it's like, they're going to also be coming for your job. You're backing the senator, but you made a whole bunch of enemies with the industrialists. Like, they already had smoke for you last episode after Home Dude's place got blown up by Leary. So, but he made a whole point of like, all right, cool. You want to be like that, Penelope? You want to say that you can run this business like any man? I'm going to pull my contract from you. Let's see how you handle that. Ha 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 ha. But she's like, you can't do that. He's like, oh, see if I, she's like, no. You legally can't do that because of the contract. Did you even read it? Basically, all orders that kind of already placed, you will have to pay in full if you pull this contract. And basically, you would have to, oh God, like, I forgot what the exact wording was, but there would still even be more of a payout even later on. You'd have to kind of like pay, God, what's the word I'm looking for? You'd have to pay even more. So she's like, honestly, pulling a contract is actually going to cost you way more than letting me keep things as they are. And it's like, interesting. And just her kind of being able to get like in his face. I'm like, yeah. Like, once again, she had to play the quiet wife for so long. She spoke her mind, but she had to play her role. She's done with that. Like, I'm not going to keep up with these pretenses. I'm going to do what I got to do. Like, oh, like, I sought legal counsel. You need to do the same. Because, like, say this turns into a whole public thing, certain things about your proclivities, about your perspective, your situation when it comes to Chinese labor, brothel, will come to light. So it's like, ooh, Penny sticking a knife in a little deeper. But obviously, like, after that blow up with Samuel, of course, you have Sophie kind of making a point to come and she kind of antagonized the situation because she's so like right. She sees what Leary's fighting for, and it's kind of like, why are you like not caring about the American plight? Like, this is all about like the American people. Like, can't you hire the Irish? But for her, it's like, no, that's why I have the labor I can, because I can't afford Irish workers. And it's like, and she's trying to make it seem like, right, we have this house, like, take some of this, but it's like, none of this is mine. I might be married to Samuel, but none of this is mine. It's in his name. He's the man in a relationship, especially at a time where it's not, oh, the relationship isn't 50-50. I'd probably put it 75-25, and even that's probably being generous. Like, it's more in the man's saying, like, he has control over everything. Like, probably any money is his money, and she gets kind of her allowances, and that's why another thing is like, right, I want it my own money, so I don't have to, like, adhere to what he wants me to do with the money, or, like, I have to come and beg and ask him for the money. And so it is that thing of, I get where Sophie's coming from, but it's also at the same time, here you are attacking your sister, saying like, oh, are you really doing any good? You're only doing everything. You're pretending like you care about the plight, but truth be told is you're just using people for a means to an end. It's like, it is effed up for you to kind of come at your sister like that, considering the whole point is like, right, all I've sacrificed for you. And she's like, I never asked you or dad to do that. It's like, yeah, but that's what family does. They don't, once again, your dad didn't ask her to do it, but she did it because she was like, no one stopped me. And that is like very selfish of Sophie to be like jumping down her sister's throat. It's like, I sacrificed so much. You don't know what I had to give up, what I had to go through for your sake. You are up here judging me, looking down on me when you are someone who's you've never had to work for anything. I am working. I'm doing everything. I'm making these sacrifices. What sacrifices have you made? What are you actually doing to help anyone? So like, go ahead and run back to your pub that you want to, because it's kind of like, here you are judging me, you're useless, and it's like, that cuts Sophie deep. It's like, right, when this is a time where we should be more together, considering we're the only family we have left now after losing dad. But in her tizzy, in her anger, she like, hey, I'm gonna help you out, Larry, and I'm gonna help you blow up the factory. She knows a back way in, and she wants to help. He's reluctant at first, but ultimately decides to let her help. And it's like, oh, they're not going to be looking out for this passageway, because why would they? And I was like, well, the problem is they're going to be looking after the place because they have product here now, which obviously Larry and even Sophie so of course Sophie wouldn't know, and of course Larry wouldn't know, because even Penelope doesn't know that they've got stuff stashed here, because that's the only reason why they were still around the area. It's also because they're meant to protect the area, so they probably know the ins and outs of the place. Maybe Assam does, because he made sure, like, right, we need to be careful, because anyone, like, this place was already hit by Leary last season, so, like, it could happen again. But it also, like, we have product to protect, so that's why they're probably a little more, like, on alert. But before the bombs can even go off, like, the Hopway attacked. So those that were on guard died. One of Leary's people died. But in the fight, Sophie, like, it's a different thing when it's like, oh, you saw him, like, knuckle brawl fight in the back and stuff like that. But it's and she, like the talk, all the stuff he was saying about, like, all right, the rush of feeling, like, the blood of another person when you're punching them. It's like, yeah, basically, it's like, even fucking doesn't compare to that, But it's a different thing when you see, because like, hey, the fight stopped when the person passes out. This is like straight up murdering someone, and blood spilling in a very different way. And it just, shit got real in that moment. So Leary blew the place up, and it shook Sophie to her core, because it's like, right, first time she's ever seen someone die. Not, once again, the brawls were one thing. This is just straight up death. And it shocked her. And so when she goes back home, because she has nowhere else to go, like all that fighting she did, it's like, right, I was so angry at my sister and I blew up that business. The last thing we have that own, like our dad, because even Penelope made the point of that factory's all we have, because nothing I have is mine. Because it's none of it's mine. It's all Samuel's. And now you literally have nothing left. And she was so mad at her sister for blowing up at her like that. And it's like, I wasn't thinking, and I did this. I did something selfish. I did something really stupid like this. And so now it's literally blown up in her face. And it's just kind of like, I was like, I can't believe I did that. Plus what I witnessed. Because Leary had said, turning against your own blood, there will be a price to pay. And so Sophie's probably going to be like, I had nothing to do with it. Because anyone that would have seen her there died in that, like all, any Hopway people died. So they wouldn't be able to pinpoint it towards her anyway. So she's probably going to keep that a secret. She's probably not going to let her sister know, because that's going to ruin everything. Because it's like, once again, all we have in the world are each other. I mean, obviously, and their other sister, but she's away right now. So the complicated thing too is, because the Hopway were already there, once again, I don't know if that was just purely for the security purposes of the factory, or was it security purposes because they already have a new supply of product in there. We don't know. Like, they haven't shown them getting more from Jack, but maybe they already have. So this screws them twofold. One, if they had product in there, it's all gone. So there's that. Two, even if they don't have product there, the place they used to hide their stash is gone now. So what are you going to do? So either they're screwed on one, damn, the product's going, and we're out all that money. Or two, we've lost all that money and we no longer have a place to stash our product. So we're the Hopways, well, not the Hopway, specifically, June and Assam are like doubly screwed if that ends up being the case. Like I said, that all depends on whether they already have product and hidden new product in the factory or not. So that's definitely going to be really interesting to ultimately see where all of that ends up taking us. Another element to this episode is picking up in the aftermath of Bill's circumstances. Last episode got the police showing up, got his family, sending them off, but his wife Lucy ain't about this. It's like, right, why did they come to our home? They came to our home because of you, Bill. Because of you brought this to us. It's like, this was never supposed to come this far, but your choices, you never thought it's like, right, they would never, because they need someone white to be able to go to that side of town and do it. But it's like, no, if we sneak around, we can avoid a lot of attention, especially in the dead of night. We're also fine with sacrificing ourselves if it proves the point that we're trying to make it. It's like, yeah, you almost got your entire family killed. This is all because of you. And so his wife is like, oh, don't even try calling for us. Like, you put your family in danger. The best thing we can do is get away from you, which I kind of brought up in a previous review of like, yeah, like he's the most danger for his family because of his circumstances. And now Lee found out the truth of, whoa, wait. You've been working with them since my time. To be fair, he went in there guns a-blazing, but yeah, like, Zing didn't kill him. In fact, made him work for him. It's like, I've been working for him, collecting, and Lee's just like punches him in the face. It's just like, I'm done with you. So your family wants nothing to do with you. Lee wants nothing to do with you. So at the end of the day, he's all alone. Has to go back to that house later on in the aftermath of everything without his family. It's just like, what do you have? So Chow went to visit him when, like, hey, the police are arming up, and Chow's like, okay, I give you 2 days. Like, the Feng Hai are going to already be expecting you. You're going to lose men in the process, but if you give me 2 days, I can make sure you're ready. I can even give you the swordsman. And it's like, oh, really? It's like, Zing's the swordsman. And I love that Chow was like, he could be. It could benefit you and it can benefit me. He gets Zing out of the way, and you finally get to close that case with the swordsman. Once again, that's only if Atoy doesn't kill anyone else with a sword, but with the way Chow's like, oh, let me handle it. I was like, oh, all he needs to do is get the sword from Atoy and put it on Zing and make it seem like he was the swordsman. So I was like, which he does later, but we'll get to that in a second. So it's like, right, this will benefit us. And obviously Bill was able to kind of like stop all of that. I mean, granted, on the political side of things, the mayor still pushed things the way he did, but Bill was able to stop the cops for now because everyone was riled up. But it's like, no, we'll lose more men this way. We'll wait. Then we'll go after the Feng Hai after my informant gives me the go ahead. So it gives Chow enough time to set things up so that Zing takes the fall. So he gets the sword from Atoy, and it's like, she's like, right. Because he was like, yeah, I'm about to do something really stupid. And she's like, huh, do you need me talking you out of it? And he's like, no, I'm going to need your help. And she's like, yeah, this is really stupid. It's like, right, it is benefiting both of us. She's like, is that really a favor if it helps you too? He's like, yeah, but those are the best kind of favors where it's like, it benefits the person asking for it too. So, it's like, yeah, it gets them off your back. Granted, she probably is going to want her sword back, but that's probably not going to be possible, because it's like, yeah, if you have your sword back and you go on some killings with that sword, they're going to know the swordsman. So that's going to only be on you. I'm helping you out by putting this all on Zing. Plus, I need him out of the picture. I can't deal with the fungi. It also benefits him because he ended up getting all his weapons and stuff that the police seized like a couple episodes ago. So everything's coming up Chow if he can like work this out, because it's like, hey, either Zing is going to be dead or worse. But it's like, Chow's also making the point of, I want him to know it was me who did it to him. Which is also like, man, that's not good. But even if he didn't, Zing would probably be able to narrow it down and like, all right, who would be conniving enough to set me up like this? Oh, who's the most conniving person in Chinatown? Chow. So it always come back to him, but it's just like, nah. Rather than, I'm not even trying to hide. I wanted to be out in front and center that I'm the one that's fucking you over. Whether that's leading to your death or completely screwing up your situation. The thing is, the fungi being screwed over, what does that mean in the long run from the long Z? Who knows? Which, that, interestingly enough, led to, well, Mai Ling, it's hard. Once again, how much is Mai Ling just doing stuff for Buckley's sake? Which it seems like more of her actions tend to be like, I'm looking at the long run for the long Z. Because there's a, kind of almost like a laundromat kind of, trying to get a loan from her, and they only wanted $300, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna give you 1,000 and I'm gonna get 40% of your income and you get protection from us. But it's like, no, we only want the loan. It's like, no, but you now got a business partner, which even Leong's like, that I told them that they could get the loan. Like, we're warriors, we're not washers. But for her, it's like, the Tong won't always exist. Eventually, the Ducks will get in their mind that they're going to wipe us out. And maybe that's where the Buckley of it comes into play, where she's like, yeah, he's using me. I'm fine with that because I'm using him. I'm using this situation to benefit me, to set the way so that we become legitimate business owners, which is, hey, that's any gangster thing, like gangster gangs or mobs or mafias always do that. It's like, you need to like legitimize your business. So it's like, right, when stuff starts cracking down, they don't come like this way. The Tong might be over, but we as a Long Z could survive because we have all these legitimate businesses that they can't do anything about. I'm going to their Chinese businesses, so like, I don't know how much protection that would really give you. But I guess it's like, yeah, and I guess it almost kind of parallels with Atoy's thing of eventually Chinese people will be able to own land and stuff in this country, so she's trying to preemptively get ready for that time frame. So just the more time that passes, Leong just kind of does not agree with, like, him and Mai Ling are not on the same page. And I love that Atoy and Mai Ling were watching a performance, and she's walking away, and it's like, Atoy, and she was almost like, oh god, it's like, oh, you know who I am? It's like, yeah, I know, because like, she probably doesn't know, like, that conversation made it seem like, oh, I know who you are. Because obviously her brother didn't come up in conversation, because last thing you want to do is bring up Assam at all. Because if you did, it's like, oh, well, those who are not in the know be like, why are they bringing him up? What's the significance there? So it's kind of like Mai Ling not wanting to take that chance of, do you actually know? And if I bring up Assam, there's a chance that might make you go, what's that about? And Atoy doesn't want to let Mai Ling fully know, but it kind of seemed like she was kind of wink, nudging, like, oh, I know who you really are, Mai Ling. But it's like, oh, most people show me respect except for you. Like, did I do something to... He's like, no. I was so caught up in the whole thing. And she bows and stuff, and Mai Ling is like, okay, good. And kind of walks away, and it just rubs Atoy this wrong way. Because I'm sure it's like, Atoy, it's like, this little girl... Because in probably Atoy's eye, it's like, right, you're a novice in all of this. You're here, you've played your games and everything. It's like, you think you got it all figured out. You think you're hot shit. But no. The fact is, it rubs her the wrong way, where it's just kind of like, right, it's like, right, she doesn't want Assam to do what he's doing, kind of going like toe-to-toe with like Mai Ling. But she's the one that also made a point of like, right, Mai Ling isn't your sister. She's not Zhao Jing. Like, Zhao Jing did die. This is Mai Ling. She's not your sister anymore. So, but it's like, yeah, she has just as much of issue with, I mean, obviously, Asam's got more personal beef, but it's like, she has just as much issues with, Mai Ling. So I think that's so interesting. And it's just kind of like, you could tell she was so annoyed. A development I wasn't expecting this episode is, Atoy reached out to Miss Davenport and had one of her girls go with her. It's like, no, you'll be safe, you'll be taken care of. And so basically they're going to be working on a plot of land. It's like, right, everything that it's honest work where they get to work, and whatever they they can make their own, you know? So it's not like something that's handed out. They get to work for it, but also they get to make it their own. They want you want it to be a thing of they're not just in service of someone, that they're able to take what they're learning and what they're doing and apply it to themselves and kind of make something of it from themselves. Which, you know, at the end of the day, Atoy wants to prove the point of like, hey, my girls, they don't have to be here. If they want to leave, they can. But I also felt like Atoy was doing that on purpose, because it's like, right, I need to see what Miss Davenport's really up to, and I need an inside person. So I don't know if that's what that is, or whether that's legitimately like no, go with her, because Ms. Davenport does speak Cantonese and understands Cantonese. So if that was kind of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, they had to play it cool, because they don't want to take the chance she could find out what they're really up to. But I think it's interesting because Ms. Davenport's like, right, I wish I could understand you more. And Atoy's like, I wish too. Because at the end of the day, if one of my girls wants to leave, they can leave. It's like, because she was making a point of, Miss Davenport was making this point of, I want to show these girls, like, you don't want to show them that there's something better out there. That's why you make them stay. It's like, no, because I take care of them. And that was kind of like the rub it all. It's like, yeah, the prostitution thing's kind of like a complicated thing, but once again, like the time frame and everything. Once again, unless you fuck her over, she looks after her girls, and from what we've seen. And once again, it's not like she's hired anyone underage. It seems like from what we can tell, it seems like she's hiring like women, like people who are legal and made the choice to do this. And once again, she doesn't make everyone do it, because she makes the point of, like, I don't know whether it's because Lai is underage, or whether it's just because she took Lai under her arm, under her wings. I don't know why I said arm. Took her under her wings, that Lai's off, you know, she's not someone that can be bought just like herself. But Davenport was like, yo, like, why don't you come out to Sonoma and check it out for yourself? Well, you can't come today. Well, how about tomorrow morning? That way you get to see what it's really all about, and maybe this will change your mind. So because now in retrospect, it's like, well, if that was the case of having someone on the inside, so it seems like it might be legitimate, because, you know, it's like now you have an insider on your own. But, you know, I mean, it is a different thing of, hey, you showing up, they should put their best foot forward, versus someone that, I don't know. It seems like it's legitimate, but I'm curious to see if there's going to be a downside to what she's building. To be fair, it might actually coincide with a little bit of what Atoy, I mean, we know what Atoy is planning, so maybe that's why she's willing to give Miss Davenport a chance. Like, if you're going to look after our people, you know, even if it's on some white savior shit, it's fine. Like, if you do good in the end, then I'll be okay with it. So maybe it's kind of like, it'll give her a picture, an idea, you know, that she has for what she's planning with Patterson and the land she's buying and stuff, and what she has planned for the future. So it's going to be interesting to see where that plot takes us. But staying on Atoy, we do see Lee at the brothel, but he doesn't want to partake. Except Atoy brings her to the bag. And the moment it's like, oh God, they're getting high. I was like, are we about to send Lee down this route? It's like, oh boy, he's about to get addicted. Because he's in so much pain, and just life is spiraling right now, and just, he wants it all to go away. So the pain of like the past has kind of reared its head, and just, I didn't talk about it last episode, him getting his get back last episode. He's just angry and mad. He was lashing out. Like I said, I think the brain damage and just the concussion and stuff might have like shifted some stuff in his personality. Just like, obviously he hasn't fully been the same. He's been a lot more aggro. Not nearly as aggro as Bill, but even to the point that Bill's like, yo, Lee, calm the hell down. So we'll see what kind of goes on that front. But it's like, damn, that sucks. It's like, oh, is he a regular customer? But Atoy's like, no, but he will be now. It's like, yeah, probably going to get super addicted to it. So Lee's kind of going to start spiraling. I'm sure, well, kind of already was, but I think this is going to make it 10 times worse. So one final thing I also wanted to, well, actually two final things I wanted to cover. We catch up a little bit with the Nicholas, the former Pinkerton that Mai Ling hired. Was that the last episode? And it turns out, kind of got into a scuffle, and Miley making a point of, yeah, if you keep messing up like this, I will have to kill you and find someone else. It's like, right. Basically, he found a lead. Buckley's very good at covering his tracks, but there might be a photograph. I don't know if it's about the woman that he's associated with. I mean, once again, like I brought it up, like, oh, does he go for the same woman? But like I said, that woman from potentially last episode, if that's what it was, that he was like bathing and washing her hair. I'm like, once again, I don't know what, like I said, I don't know if that's some serial killer stuff, if you're like kind of on some Jack the Ripper shit. Like, I don't know if that's kind of, you know, killing prostitutes things. I don't know if that's fully what's going on there, or like I said, if he's playing out some like mommy issues, or the one that got away issues, some psychopathy he's kind of repeating and finding women with red hair that resembles his mother or the woman that got away. I don't know. There's something there. And once again, we've only got little peeks into it previously, so I'm assuming the photographs has something to do with that. Like I said, if he's not killing them and there's a photograph of him disposing of dead, there's just some dirt on Buckley's coming up that is going to fall into Myling's hands. So we'll see. There's also the Chow situation. He needed a favor from Atoy, and he ended up leaving a doll for Claire to give to their daughter. And it's like, he's like, there's something I should have done a long time ago. And I guess, I don't know if that's him severing ties to his child. Because at first I was also like, you don't think he's going to try and like have his daughter killed because he doesn't want anything tied to him? But it's like, now he left the doll, so it's like, I guess he's fully cutting off ties with them, or maybe like he's leaving them some money so they can be taken care of, or whatever. Because he did was short on money this time around, but he made it sound like, oh, it's something I've been putting off for a very, very long time. So I don't know what to quite make of that scene fully. Just like the doll and everything, and her bringing it to their daughter. So we'll see what kind of becomes of that. But also another tiny thing I just remembered. In fact, this was actually the thing I was remembering, and then I was like, oh yeah, the child thing as well. But I guess word got out about Hong being into dudes, and that led to a whole conversation where it's like some of the people that came to on the boat with him, I guess, the kind of the fresh onions essentially, are busting his chops. One guy in particular, and Young Jun bashed his head into the table, because it's like, right, I got Hong's back. And I love that Assam stands up and kind of waves his finger like, to everyone else that was kind of about to stand up and have an issue. It's like, well, for one, what are you going to do? This is Young Jun. You can't do anything. But he's like, yeah, like Hong is with us. Like, so if you mess with him, you fuck with him, it's like fucking with me, and you don't want to fuck with me. Got it? And I love his dad steps in. He's like, what's going on? And Young Jun's like, breakfast. So yeah, and Hong is kind of feeling himself like, yeah, I'm in with the it crowd. Like I brought up last episode, I don't know if he's a plant, but he went so far of his way to get associated with Assam and Young Jun. So I think Father June has to know, and he just needs confirmation from Hong. We shall see, or not unless he's just like, yo, I'm this dude and I just want to get close to you guys because you guys seem interesting. It's like, there just definitely seems like there's a lot more to Hong than meets the eye, as we learned last episode, but I'm sure there's like a lot more to learn. So either way, I am very interested to ultimately see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.